Welcome to this public meeting of the Princeton Board of Education. The board is an elected unpaid group of 10 citizens who set policy and make decisions on educational, financial, and personnel matters for the Princeton Public Schools on behalf of all residents. We are always pleased when members of the public attend our meetings. The board and the school district operate under applicable New Jersey laws and under regulations of the New Jersey State Board of Education. Each meeting includes an opportunity for those attending to comment on items on the published agenda or other matters of interest to them. The board reserves the right to limit the time allotted to public participation. Law limits discussion of individual, personnel, and confidential matters. We hope that our meetings provide useful opportunities for communication between the board and the community. Thank you for attending.
As required, excuse me, under the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 1046 et sequentia, adequate notice was given for calling this meeting. It was authorized by the Board of Education and forwarded to the municipal clerk, Princeton Packet, and the Trenton Times on June 20th, 2023, and distributed to the schools and others on the standard distribution list. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. Board Policy 168, recording devices, requires that we inform those attending this virtual meeting that the proceedings are being recorded. This meeting is not being live streamed. Public members who wish to make comment at the appropriate time, as noted in the agenda or added by the presiding officer, shall quote unquote raise their hand virtually at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once called upon, the member of the public will be requested to unmute themselves by clicking the mute button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. The representative of the sending district is authorized to vote on such matters that affect sending district students or affect the governance of the Princeton Public Schools, as more specifically designated in NJSA 18A 38.8.1. In the event the statute is amended, the law shall take precedence over this bylaw. Sending district votes pertaining to personnel actions refer to high school, central administrative, and district-wide staff only. Votes otherwise are considered abstentions.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Go. Daphne Kendall,
Here.
Betsy Baglio,
Here.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Here.
Jean Durbin,
Present.
Mara Franceschi,
Here.
Susan Cantor,
Here.
Ryan McDonald,
Present.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Present.
and Rob Christopher.
Here.
Gotcha. Say, there is a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bolden. So welcome everyone to this meeting. This meeting is set up, and we typically do this between meetings in the summer if we have a personnel appointment, because most public school employees have to give 60 days notice to their district before they can leave their contract. We'll get to that in a minute. First, can I have, just moving on, a motion for D1 adoption of the minutes for June 13th, 2023. Brian, second. Jean.
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Baglio,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Abstain.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yeah.
Ryan McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bolden. And now we'll move on to item E1, appointment of supervisor of school counseling and student wellness. Can I get a motion, please? Jean, second. Mara. Rebecca, did you want to introduce Mr. McMichael?
It would be my honor. Good evening, everyone. I bring to you tonight Dr. Kelly's recommendation to the board for the hiring of John McMichael to the position of supervisor of school counseling and student wellness. John comes to us with 20+ years of school experience in counseling and administration. He went to college at Villanova for his bachelor's. John has 2 master's degrees. He has one on counseling from Temple and one on education leadership from Wilmington. Basically, he's also a school board member in his own town, so that should make a lot of us smile. The process that brought John to us included posting, pre-screening, a full interview with constituents from guidance across the board, as well as leadership in the district. The committee did send forth 2 people to Dr. Kelly. Dr. Kelly met with them, and you see tonight before you our candidate for this position, John McMichael. And we're proud, we're honored. It was a very tough field in terms of lots of people, all good. And as Princeton and all of us know, we want one of the best, if not the best person we can find to put in front of our kids and work with our staff. And John fits that bill. So,
Thank you, Ms.
all
Gold.
right, give you John.
Yes. Mr. Bolden, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Baglio,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Robert Christopher.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
So congratulations, Mr. McMichael. Welcome to Princeton. We know that you're on vacation today in the happiest place on earth, and we're the second happiest place on earth. So thank you for joining us, as you'll see. So we appreciate your taking some time from your vacation to join us. So I don't know if you had a couple of words you'd like to say to the community?
Well, I just have to say thank you, and that's obviously for the vote you just took and the confidence you've shown in me. But just that this is Zoom, because I shared with some of you, as Ms. Gold just mentioned, yes, I'm a board member in my town, and I love seeing the faces of people who get approved at our meetings. So if you didn't do this over Zoom tonight, I wouldn't have that chance to show you my excitement and my appreciation. So I'm just glad I can join. But yes, as far as the job itself, this counseling has been my entire career. Right from grad school, I explained to the personnel committee this morning, right from grad school, I was lucky enough to get hired at the first place I worked. I worked there for 17 and a half years as a counselor. It's very important work to me for several reasons. I also, just on a personal note, as I shared, I believe in the second round with the 11 members of that interview committee, I'm just a very internally driven, intrinsically motivated person, and I always strive for the best in my life, whether that's in my professional world or my personal life. I gave an example. I'm a runner, and I just finally ran the Boston Marathon for the first time back in April. So that's just a small sample of that. Took a long time to get there, just like it's taken my whole career to get to Princeton. But I feel very similarly about that, where I'm on my vacation with my entire family. There's 11 of us in total right now, and I just said to my mother-in-law, like, this is the kind of thing that feels like you work your whole life for. So your vote tonight, and again, I believe I said this in one of the committees. I will work tirelessly to earn the confidence you've shown in me. I'm very excited to get to work. I was working all weekend on all the personnel onboarding forms. I can't wait to get started. Ms. Gold was telling me earlier today, she's going to try to get me an email quickly. So that's great. I can get in the loop and, get to know Princeton as best I can so I can hit the ground running. I'm making strides on my end to do what I can to get there as quickly as possible. So please know that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate your coming. Now go have some fun.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
John.
everybody.
All right. Take care. All right.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye. And thank you, Ms. Gold, for arranging for Mr. McMichael to join us. So now we'll move on to item F1, the public comment on agenda items, non-agenda items. Do we have any takers, Mr. Bolden? Okay.
Buddy. Nope.
Okay, so moving on to item G1. And you guys know to stop me, G1 resignations, G2 appointments. I believe this is where we are continuing Dr. Foster's appointment at Princeton High School. Is that correct, Ms. Gold?
We are continuing her appointment through the end of August. That's correct.
Okay, and she's paid only for the days that she works. Is that right?
She's only per diem paid for
Yes.
the day she works, correct?
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions on that? No. Item G3, transfers, reassignments, G4, leave of absence, G5, personnel items. And then we're moving on to item H1, formal bid transportation award, F2, professional services, architect of record. Does anyone want to give some feedback on that or comment?
Or would you like me to speak to that briefly?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bolden.
So we went through a process, an RFP. We had somewhere around 11 or 12 firms. We had been researching at the time. We brought in 3 firms for an interview with the operations, most of the operations committee on Friday, June 30th. We did a lot of fact checking. We had 3 strong candidates. 2 were very strong, and we went with FVHD because I can't pronounce the 2 middle names of the firms. They have a lot of like district as clients. Actually have been working with our long-term planning consultant also lately. A lot of clients in Mercer County as well, and they're located right in Ewing. So we're very happy. I'm happy, and hopefully it's a long, fruitful relationship.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bolden. And who was on that committee who reviewed the architect? Just raise your hands. Okay, and I think Beth was too.
Beth was
I just
Dr. Kelly.
wanted to thank Dr. Kelly. I just wanted to thank, the board members for taking time out of their summer for that important series of interviews. Jean, did you have a question?
I did. Thank you so much. And thanks for the background. What will this architect of record be doing for us, and how does it work with the existing architect?
So our existing architect is under contract for the 2022 referendum. New architect will be helping us with things as we move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Okay, moving on, where were we? H3, resolution of the Princeton Board of Education authorizing the purchase of electricity supply services. Mr. Bolden, do you want to just briefly discuss that, as that was a late addition?
The contractual minimum and maximum prices. So we're not tied in to and it's a reverse auction where it's a live auction for electricity pricing. I've partaken in this in other districts. So you get, somewhere from 5 to 10 providers, and they bid against each other. We're not obligating the board to enter a contract. If we feel the prices are favorable, we will. The last 3 months, prices have gone up significantly on electric supply. Distribution is always through PSE&G.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bolden.
Ms. McDonald?
You said we expect bids from multiple providers, suppliers. Does sustainable sourcing of energy come into the decision-making process in any way, or is it purely financial?
We haven't chose to, there are options you can do. It costs a lot of extra money if we're going to ask for, like 100% sustainable energy. So it's a tricky situation. We were part of ACES here for an awful long time, which isn't really the best source for procuring energy. When you get too large of a bid, it actually is not beneficial.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bolden. Anything else, Mr. McDonald? No, we're good. Anyone else? No. Okay, moving on to item H4, acceptance of donation, annual scholarship for a graduating senior for a culinary arts program. And I'm just going to read this because this is extremely generous, and I haven't seen this on my time on the board. But it's resolved that the Princeton Board of Education authorized the business administrator to accept a donation of $81,326.28 from Rena Panaccia I hope I'm saying that right, a graduate of PHS, in honor of her sister Helen and brother-in-law Dominic Panaccia, longtime Princetonians. Helen managed the kitchen at the newly named Princeton Middle School for at least 20 years. Dominic was the executive chef at the Nassau Inn. The funds will provide for an annual scholarship to a graduating senior from PHS towards a post-secondary culinary arts program. So on behalf of the board, I just want to thank the Panacchia family. I hope I'm saying your name right. And we really appreciate your generosity. Jean?
Thanks. I wanted to back up to the architect because I have blinders on. I wasn't involved in any of that process. Do we have a written summary or something so I could get a little more background on why we chose as we chose, or does anybody want to elaborate here? If not, the written summary would be fine. I don't think I've seen anything about it. So thanks.
Yeah, so again, I think we delegated that to a committee. It was discussed in committee. I haven't seen anything either. I do trust my colleagues. And I know that, you know, we're in lines in what we want to see in the next architect, and I'm sure someone can provide a summary of the highlights of why we chose this firm. Rob?
I just wanted to double down on the thanks to the Panacchias. That was wildly generous and really nice, especially you know, food service, a really valuable service and a really good path for kids post-secondary education. I think it's great.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Okay, anyone else?
I can third it.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I agree. It's a great vocation. It's a great career. That is incredibly generous, and it's so fulfilling to see community members supporting our kids. So thank you to the family.
Brian?
Am my understanding that it's a one-time donation from an estate, but that the gift would be made on a recurring basis? Or are these are there multiple gifts contemplated? And in either case, how do the funds get managed before they are dispersed?
So, Mr. McDonald, I should have continued reading. It is the intention to work with the executor of the state and the local Princeton Area Community Foundation to assist with management and annual award of the funds. So I guess it's going to be managed through the Princeton Area Community Foundation, but it was a designated gift. Is that right, Mr. Bolden?
Yes, it's a one-time gift, and you know,
Yeah.
I spoke with the executor. You know, it's or I guess they were the beneficiary, and regardless, you know, it couldn't be something. They didn't think it was something that would be good for, you know, in perpetuity. Some people set up, so we're going to look at, you know, whatever they feel is comfortable. It should be of a sizable amount each year, you know, and then it would be, you know, one award a year. It's probably something that won't have a ton of people, you know, it's a unique vocation. I mean, not that unique, but, you know, so that would be the goal to, you know, maybe keep it running for as many as, you know, 15, probably 20 years would be the most, depending on, and we like to leverage, we have scholarships managed through other places here in the district. So, you know, we're going to try to make it as seamless as possible for, you know, not onerous on the district to manage. And the Princeton Area Community Fund does this very well.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wanted to say I'm sorry for not like first saying yay for the donation and acknowledging that when I was backing up to the other topic. So very grateful for that as well. Thanks.
Okay. So moving on, H5, registration travel agenda. All right, then moving on to the consent vote. Actually, Mr. Bolden, let's see if there's any public comment before we do the consent vote, please.
Mr. Bolden, do you want to ask for President to amend item 5?
Yeah, there was one late comer. I would like to educate people, but it was one of our administrators who wants to go to the National Education Conference. The cost was $495. But we didn't want to throw it on at 5:30. So Dr. Joy Barnes Johnson, National Education Summit, Washington, D.C. on July 18th. We're not technically allowed to pay for a trip that was already completed. It's in the administrative code. $85 of travel expenses.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
I have another question. I'm sorry. The architect, this is just consent to approve the architect, not the contract.
The contracts with architects come as part of either, smaller agreements for a specific project or contracts for hourly work, et cetera.
So there's no contract connected with this consent vote tonight, right? If there is, I would request to read the contract. That's why I'm asking. If there's nothing to be
Yeah.
approved in writing, then I'll go ahead with the consent item.
Okay, it's similar to, at June 13th with the annual reorg, just timing wise, it was difficult to get all this done at the same time on June 13th. So it was the will of the board and the operations committee specifically, long-term planning committee. So it was a lot of,
Work.
parties involved.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're switching things around. We're going to go to public comment first. Mr. Bolden, are there any takers for public comment?
Yes, Gabriella.
Okay, hold on one second. If you could just, so I'll do my little spiel. I wasn't going to do it, if no one wanted to comment, but what fun would that be? So please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Please be civil, and we can't comment on personnel items. Please state your name and the street you live on and the town. All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm your neighbor, Gabriella Millie from Whitmer Court. And actually, the reason I want to speak tonight is because I have tried to attend several meetings, and I haven't found it to be very easy to follow the directions to actually just even listen to the commentary of what's going on with the board. I think that we have quite a bit of in our community, a lot of people that are interested in understanding what the issues are. And I'm wondering if we could identify the person that is that we can go to make sure that we have the right information so we can attend the meetings. That if there's, so who would that person be?
Well, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Bolden.
You can always email myself when if you're talking about accessing a live stream for an in-person meeting, because most of our recent meetings have been in person. There'll be a link on Board Docs, which you can access to our website as well.
Yes, I did try to attend a live meeting, and it turned out that it was changed to closed. So I was there, but I had to leave because it was changed to closed at the last minute. So I think I want to make the point that there are lots of people that want to understand what the issues are with the Board of Education that you're facing, not to be critical, but to really understand. I think I don't find that it's very easy to be able to participate. Also, I'm wondering if you're keeping track of how many people are attending to the meetings, even if we don't speak.
No, that's not something that we have ever tracked.
I just think it's given the interest in the community, it's really important. And I want to second that, as Jean is asking about this architect question, obviously I was not aware, but it's the same thing. I think we're all feeling, many of us, not everybody, but many of us are feeling that we want to understand what the issues are, because there's a lot of expenses that we're not understanding, and we want to trust that you're doing the right thing. But I think there's a lot of just dismissal, like, oh, we trust so-and-so. Or when somebody asks, it has been the situation in public comments, people ask questions, if there's any way to enhance the recruiting process or understand how you're selecting people. And the answer is always, as of today, as Jean was asking about how this architect is being selected. Oh, we trust our constituents, or we trust the people. Well, we trust whoever's on the board. If anything has been shown in the last few months, this town does not trust you anymore. So please, for the sake of everybody, for the sake of moving forward in a positive way, understand that. And I think that Jean is doing the right thing. She's saying, you're asking me to vote on something. I never saw the contract. I never understood. I'm trying to understand. Don't just dismiss her.
So the way that we run things, Gabriella, is so there's two ways to run it. Either a committee of the whole or by board committees. And this board has actively chosen to run our meetings by committee. And so I do trust my colleagues. I'm sorry to hear you don't, trust us. I don't think that's widespread in the community. I do trust my colleagues. We all have the interests of Princeton students at the forefront. And, that's the way boards of education run by committee. So thanks for your comment. Jean?
Well, thank you for that. And thanks, Gabby, also. I do trust my colleagues. I was unclear about whether there was a contract attached to this resolution for a new architect. And I know we need a new architect, and this resolution is for an architect for 1 year. So I do trust my colleagues, especially not to play favorites, but on operations, they labor over this stuff for hours and hours. I was just hoping there, normally I try to walk with someone or have coffee, or I try to call someone to get hey, what's happening in your committee? Because we do operate as committees, and the committee makes a recommendation for us to vote on these consent items. I missed a beat because of my own personal life this time around. And so I didn't get a chance to ask my question before this meeting. So I asked it, here. And I do have absolute confidence in my colleagues, particularly on the operations committee. And I didn't mean to infer that I don't. And so, or insinuate, whatever the correct word is anyway. But, I got my answer from Mr. Bolden very clearly. There's no contract attached to this vote tonight. And I like to read contracts. So, and I'm sure I'll get to read one when it comes in the queue. But I just wanted to be clear, Gabby, that, I wasn't, I really enjoy working with my board colleagues. I think everybody operates at a really high professional level, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for public comment, Mr. Bolden?
I don't see anybody.
Okay, so moving back to the consent agenda, can I get a motion, please? Rob, second. Susan?
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Betsy Baglio,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Ryan McDonald,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bolden. All right, I think that concludes our meeting. It's a little long for the summer, but our next meeting is in person on July 25th in Valley Road, and it will begin at 7:30, Mr. Bolden, or are we gonna do something earlier for the summer?
I was advertised at 7:30, so we would have to re-advertise if we wanted to change, which we have time to do, but it's 6 o'clock close, 7:30 open is the typical.
Yeah, but it's summer. Does anyone want to come in earlier? No, we'll leave it 6, 7:30. Okay,
I'm fine with earlier.
we'll do August earlier. How's that? We'll compromise.
Well, that makes it hard. I don't know what you're talking about early.
5:30?
That's actually kind of hard for me.
Okay.
Even in the
That's
summer.
hard. That's hard for me too.
Okay.
And I don't stop working until that time. So yeah,
Okay.
if we could keep it at the regular time, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Betsy, second. Rob, all in favor? Okay, good night.